Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. I hope you had a great Thursday. My name is Chelsea Amer, and I am a part of the Healthie team based here in New York City. I'm so excited to be co-hosting this webinar with Mandy. Mandy's doing all the heavy lifting tonight, too, so I just get to learn and partake, which is wonderful. So I'm so excited to have you here. Just a few housekeeping things. This webinar will be recorded, and so it will be sent out by tomorrow to you in case you need to run, leave early. I got a few emails from people. Love to see that you guys are here live, but in case you're catching the replay, we have it. It will always be available to you. And now let's turn it over to Mandy. I'm very excited to introduce Mandy Enright, the owner of Team With Me Nutrition and Fitness Consulting, a communications and corporate wellness company based at the Jersey Shore. She's the creator of the couples nutrition blog and podcast, Nutrition Nuptials, featured in Bridal Guide and Inside Weddings. Mandy is a former advertising executive, combining her business expertise with nutrition knowledge to assist colleagues in building their businesses through branding, advertising, and relationship skills. Mandy is also an avid fitness enthusiast who holds certifications in yoga, stand-up paddleboard, yoga, aerial yoga, and kickboxing. So we'll tell you all about how you can learn more about Mandy at the end of this. And if you have any questions about Mandy or throughout the webinar, feel free to leave them in the chat. I will be putting them all together in one place, and we will have time for Q&A at the end. So turning it over to you, Mandy. Thank you. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsea. And thanks everyone for taking time out of your Thursday to attend live tonight. So I am actually going to switch over to share my screen, and I'm actually going to take myself off of video so that way you guys can enjoy, and hopefully that is showing up. Okay. And I'll take myself off. All right. So thank you all so much again for tuning in. We are talking tonight about storytelling and steps to creating your personal brand for selling yourself. Chelsea already gave me a lovely introduction, so not much more to say beyond that. And what we're going to really be talking tonight is, why is it that stories sell? We're going to talk about how to actually go about writing your story to find your niche, communicating your story, and then going forward to create your brand. So why does storytelling equal selling, and why they sell? So let's start off a fun little introduction. So in the chat, if you guys could just put in, what is your all-time favorite movie? The movie, if it's raining or snowing or you're not feeling well and you put it on, or you come across it on TV and you just have to watch it. So just take a moment to share what that might be. Pretty Woman. Mm-hmm. Oh, we have a Grease. Okay, so nice. You guys have some really awesome movies that you guys are into. I love it. Groundhog Day, Serendipity, fantastic. So why is it that we connect to these movies? What is it that no matter what it is, no matter how many times we've seen it, we just can't seem to tear ourselves away? And the reason really for that is that we connect to stories, right? We see ourselves in them. Think about the characters that you can identify with. I bet at least half of you on this webinar have probably done a which Hogwarts house quiz, which Hogwarts house do you belong in quiz, or maybe you've decided which Breakfast Club character are you, right? We can relate to characters because we see ourselves in them, right? Here I am hanging out with my friends, Harry and Ron, and we're going to go on an adventure today, right? We find our ways that we can relate. A good story, so a movie with a good story, a book with a good story, is something that is unique and it's compelling. It is primarily helping to overcome some form of a struggle while offering hope, and most importantly, it's relatable. And it's targeting our emotions. So now let's turn it over to business. The way that stories really influence our business is that they help to connect to people. I say this all the time to folks. We are in a service-based industry as dietitians, and any service-based industry is rooted in relationships. We want to make sure we are connecting with people. So stories help to target emotions. They give hope, right? As a client, and you hear somebody's story, right? They say, I'm not alone. There's a solution for me. I feel better. As dietitians, stories humanize us. Like, think about it. People are scared to go to the dietitian. They think we're going to tell them what they can't eat. We're going to judge them. So when we tell stories, they make us relatable, right? And their client now says, like, you understand. You totally get me. You've been here too. Hey, you're not the food police. And overall, we're giving customers confidence to work with us, right? We want them to know that we have been there. We know their challenges, and they feel more confident working with us as their partner to help them. So I just want to bring up a couple of pitfalls that I have seen with dietitians when it comes to branding in general. Overall, we tend to feel that it's our RD credential is what sells us. And I'm going to be really bluntly honest, that's not necessarily the case. Yes, having a registered dietitian credential definitely makes us more credible. However, what is it really that sets us apart from anyone else out there, a nutritionist who has programs out there? And it's really because they tell the story. They tell a story that somebody can relate to. So don't believe just because you're a registered dietitian that people are falling all over themselves to work with you. We like to promote our expertise over our struggles and solutions, right? So we want people to know, hey, we have all this great education. I've worked in these hospitals. I've done these hours. But we forget to tell people really what it is that may have gotten us to this point. We also tend to have this belief that getting personal is unprofessional. I remember when I was in internship, my director was like, oh, watch what you post on social media and careful what you say to clients, right? Remember, if you ever took motivational interviewing, there's the disclosure tactic that you're supposed to use very sparingly with clients because you don't want to tell them too much about yourself. But we're going to talk about how that's actually not necessarily the case. This is a big one I see all the time, the cart before the horse. We love to create all our branding elements before actually defining our brand. So when I say a branding element, I mean a name, a logo, a tagline, website, hashtags. We love to get all that out there before we've actually defined ourselves. And there's a lot of time we tend to lack clarity in our business. So we're offering very generic services. Does the public really know what an initial assessment is? Do they know what happens at a follow-up? Sometimes we offer too much, right? You're offering every possible option in the world to people, and it actually confuses them because now they're not sure why they should come see you. So the key takeaway number one, I want you to remember, most importantly, it's not about you. Your brand is not about you. It's about them. It's about your ideal client. It's about helping somebody, right? Your brand was created by you for somebody else to take action. You want them to call you, work with you, buy something. If you constantly are talking about yourself or why you're so great and you're not speaking to your ideal client, they're going to move on to someone else who gets them better. So I want to introduce you guys. We're going to be hanging out a lot today with my friend Rhonda, dietitian. She's a private practice dietitian, and sports nutrition is totally her passion. So let's see how Rhonda's story can influence her business. Now, this is the typical About Me page that I see on a lot of dietitians' websites. I'm not here to knock on anyone, but I just want to point out that this is pretty common. So Rhonda, dietitian, MS, RD, LD, CSSD, CHAC, studied dietetics at awesome university. She went on to complete her dietetic internship through Dietitians in College, where she received the Amazing Clinical Student Award. Rhonda went on to work at top name hospital for 10 years before opening her private practice. Rhonda works with every age group from babies to the elderly, and in her private practice, Rhonda specializes in pediatrics, bariatrics, and sports nutrition. Call today to make an appointment for an initial assessment. Why is this not selling Rhonda? Well, first and foremost, this is pretty vanilla. You want to write your bio for your ideal clientele. It's not about you. Number one. Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so number one, we want to define acronyms. Most of the public has no idea what MSRD, LSD, CSDC, all these things mean. So we want to keep it very calm. Yes, we love our credentials, but make sure you're defining it for your public. To be honest, nothing really stands out here. So it's a little bit on the plain side. A lot of different specialties, right? I specialize in pediatrics, bariatrics, and sports nutrition. That's a lot of very varying areas. So how do you know who to go to? Same thing with the age group. If you're targeting everyone out there, you're really targeting nobody. And what does this dietitian do differently than anyone else? Can I put another dietitian's name in here and it wouldn't distinguish Rhonda from Susie Dietitian? The other thing too, we love to say, hey, call today for an appointment, make an initial assessment. I always joke with people and say this is kind of like when you go out and meet somebody at a bar and then they like want to take you home with them. Like you're asking somebody for a big ask before they've had a chance to really get to know you. So let them get to know you a little bit better, and we'll see how we can do that a little bit differently. And also, can we stop writing our bios in third person? Like this is your story. So let's tell the story about Rhonda now. So here we go. Hi, my name is Rhonda Dietitian, a registered dietitian based in New Jersey. Growing up, I was always active and played sports year-round. When I was a freshman in college, I tore my ACL during a soccer game, forcing me to lose valuable playing time while I was in recovery for almost a year. During this time, I worked with a registered dietitian who helped me learn how nutrition could help me with my recovery in addition to countless hours of physical therapy. Although I had entered college as a psychology major, I decided to change to dietetics to help other athletes like me learn how to use nutrition in their sports injury recovery. I had the opportunity to work with our campus athletic trainers and sports dietitians while I was in school, and after completing my dietetic internship, I went on to work as a dietitian at big name orthopedic surgery hospital with Dr. Famous Orthopedic, where I practiced various methods using sports nutrition and post-surgery recovery, and most recently earned my certified specialist in sports dietetics credential. In 2017, I opened Recovered Nutrition, a nutrition wellness center for athletes focusing on injury and surgery recovery. My signature Recovered Bounce Back Nutrition program was created for athletes from high school to professionals recovering from surgery to help them get back to the sports they love. Are you a top performing athlete with an injury, have an upcoming surgery, or in post-op looking for help with your nutrition for recovery? Call today for a consultation to discuss your recovery goals. So what's the difference between this and the first one? Number one, I'm pretty sure a bariatric patient isn't calling up to make an appointment. We have very clearly here defined what Rhonda's niche is, her brand, her ideal client, and her service. And we know her why. We know why she is doing what she is doing. Also at the end, right? The call to action, it's not call today, make an appointment. It's, hey, let's have a discussion. Let's talk about your goals, right? You're really making this about them. It's not about you. So when you tell your story, you're attracting very different people based on how you tell the story. So when you get personal with your story, you're attracting your ideal client. You're attracting the people who want to work with you. They are seeking you out. And most importantly, they want to pay for what you have to offer. They could care less whether or not you take their insurance because you have something for them and they want it and they need it. That means these are motivated clients. This is also helping to weed out anyone who's going to waste your time calling up, trying to pump you for free information, trying to see if you're going to be the right person for them. You're very clear. And most importantly, you're going to create this tribe of raving fans who get out into the world and they start talking about you. And that's your sales force. Those are people who start becoming a referral for you. When we are too generic with our stories, we get very different people reaching out to us. We get what I call the convenience seeker, the person who just wants to work with the dietitian closest to them. The phone-a-thon, right? You ever get the client and they're like, oh, you're the first one who's picked up the phone. Great, I'm going to make an appointment with you. You have the folks who want to work with you only if you take their insurance. If you don't take their insurance, they have no interest in working with you. You have the folks who call you up and say, my wife or my doctor told me I need to see a dietitian, so I'm calling to make an appointment. Or the wife already made the appointment for them, and now they're just showing up to see you to humor their spouse. You have the person calling you up who's going for bariatric surgery tomorrow, and they need a dietitian to put a checklist on their files to say if they saw one. And at the end, these are the folks who are unmotivated and do the bare minimum with you. They wind up not being super happy because for some reason you didn't help them out, and they do not become a tribe of raving fans, which means facts. We're going to move over. Facts sell and stories tell. Don't bore people with the facts. Don't tell them where yes, you can sprinkle in where you went to school and what you know, but tell the stories, because that is what people are going to latch onto. So that becomes, what is your story, and how we go about going back to our past, today, and the present, so we can create a future for ourselves and our businesses. I want to just first distinguish the difference between a brand and a niche. We love using these terms interchangeably, but that is actually not the case. A brand is a perception. It's actually very open to interpretation by the public. And with a brand, we're actually targeting as many people as possible. We want everyone to know our brand, what we do, what our business is. A niche is very specific. It is clearly defined, and it is a very small group. So I want to go back to our friend Rhonda here, right? So her, as we look at it, at the very top, right, we have Recovered RD Nutrition, which is her business. Within it, she is a registered dietitian where she does specialize in sports nutrition, particularly for high performance athletes, and weeding it down even more, injury and surgery recovery. So when we look at this, Recovered RD Nutrition, that's Rhonda's brand. But that little tiny peak here, that's her niche. That is her small group, and she knows exactly how to speak and work with these people. However, when it comes to creating a brand, we want to flip it. We actually want to find the niche first before we build the brand, because we want to know who is a small group that we're reaching out to, and what are all the steps we need to take to meet these person, right? Most people are going to tell you to make a list of all your passions in the world and narrow down from there to figure out what your niche should be. Here's the problem with that. A lot of us just have too many passions and we want to address them all, and that can become a little confusing for folks. So that brings the question, what's my niche? To which I always then ask, what's your story? So we want to retrace the steps that what got us here today. And most importantly, we are looking at pivotal moments in our life. And we're looking at what were the outcomes, right? So if it was a positive outcome, you've moved forward. If it was a negative outcome in that pivotal moment, we look back at what could have been done differently. So what I'm going to show you is a framework that I use with my clients, my coaching clients. I use for when I coach dietitians, helping them with their brands. And this is a framework that is used in actually a lot of movies and a lot of stories. And it's called the hero's journey. And this is actually a very abbreviated version. There's actually about 12 steps to this. I think I've dropped it down to about 4, just in the interest of time and not wanting to overwhelm you guys too much. So this is the framework that is pretty much used in every epic movie, novel. The classic example that's always used when they talk about the hero's journey is Star Wars, Harry Potter, and pretty much any animated Disney movie you've ever seen follows this pathway. So if we look up at the top at 12 o'clock here, this is our starting point. And we're journeying along and life is great and we're going about our day and all of a sudden something happens, right? This is called the call to adventure. Something happens. We encounter a problem, an issue, and our world gets shaken up a little bit as a result of it. So now we have this problem that we're dealing with and we need to figure out what to do. So we meet what we call our mentor. And this is the person who helps us figure out how to solve the problem, overcome the problem. And that mentor takes us down into what we call the special world. So this is somewhere we've never been to before. It's unknown territory. And we're honestly a little scared to go there because we don't know what's to come. And in that special world, yeah, we're going to have some kind of a challenge, which eventually leads to a rebirth of some sort. And we're not done yet. Notice that we're only about 6 o'clock here. So we still have to go, right? We've overcome something, but now we have to get ourselves back into that ordinary world. So we now have to take this little journey up and around. And through this process, we learn the solution that gets us back into that ordinary world. And that's what we call the elixir. And this is that solution that everybody needs to know about, right? Everyone has to have this. So when we think back to our friend Rhonda over here and we look at her adventure, right? So her ordinary world, right? She was playing soccer, having a great time. And now all of a sudden she tears her ACL, right? That's her call to adventure. Well, now what? Can't play soccer. What am I going to do? So she meets the mentor. That's where she went and she worked with the dietitian, right? This is the dietitian that helped her with her recovery. But Rhonda's story is not over yet. Rhonda said, hey, this dietitian thing helped me with my recovery. Maybe I could help other people with it. So now she goes through that whole challenge, right? She changed her major to become an RD. And we all know that is not an easy process. So she went in as a non-RD, and now she's kind of had this rebirth as a dietitian, but her story ain't over yet. We're only halfway through. So now coming out as a newly coined RD, she goes and works in that hospital. She sees these surgery and injury to patients. She's developing plans for them, and she takes her specialization in sports dietetics, right? But she's not done yet, right? Now she's like, oh my God, I figured it out. I cracked the code. I know the answer. You know what? It's time to help other people like me overcome their injuries. And that's where she goes and she opens that wellness center. And now she's offering her nutrition and recovery program for athletes, right? She has that solution for people. So what does that mean here? It means in that bottom left corner there where you're coming out of that special world and you've kind of start to dabble and figure out what you can do and who you can help. That's where the niche magic happens. This is where you're going to start to figure out and define what your niche is and who you want to be working with. Because you're dabbling with all these people here, but you're going to find who are the ones that you really connect to. And then up in the top left, oops, where'd we go? Going backwards. Top left, this is where your branding begins, right? Now you're like, okay, I figured out my niche. How do I turn this into a business? How do I turn this into a brand? And now guess what? Your journey is going to start all over again as we go into our new call to adventure, and that's starting a business. So key takeaway number 3, it's the pivotal moments in our lives that shape our brand. Now let's translate that story into a brand. All right, so we're going back to our friend here. We're going to see this a couple of times today, right? Your hero's journey. When we look at this, thinking back through these kind of key stages in our life, and I want to also let you know that there are multiple times you're going to go on this journey in your life. It's not necessarily you have one big journey. You're probably going to go on this many, many times here. It's on the left here, which is your why, right? This is why you do what you do, your passion. What is it that happens to you in your life that makes you inspired or passionate to do something? But on the left, it's your what. So you figured out your why. Your what is what you're doing. What is it that you have to offer to people? What is it that people can buy or get or gain from you or from working from you, right? We always talk about your why. Great book, Simon Sinek, Start with the Why, right? Why is it that we do what we do? But we also have to have something that we can actually, that's tangible for somebody to have. So the next step we want to do is rewrite the story, right? Again, remember, it's not about you. It's about your ideal client. So now we want to look at this story from the eyes of our ideal client, right? So now at number one, it's our prospective client that has a problem. And now they meet you. You're the mentor for them. And now you take them through their special world and help them figure out what works for them. You have challenges with them, you have triumphs, and at the end, they've achieved some kind of success, right? You figured out, you cracked the code, how you're going to work with them to help them figure out what it is that works for them. And then they've achieved success, they're super happy, and they're going to tell everyone about it. So I want you to think about, what is the story from your ideal client's point of view, right? So you look at that call to adventure. What's the journey? What's the problem? And most importantly, why are they resistant to fixing it? And this is important because when we think about what objections our potential clients might have, we want to address them before they even have a chance to think about it. When they come to you, you're the mentor, right? How do you meet them, right? This is where we start to get a little bit into marketing. How are you meeting them and how are you guiding them? And then we look at the challenges. So what is the biggest challenge they're going to have an encounter along the way? And how is it that you're helping to overcome them? And then finally, what's your elixir? What is the ultimate solution that this person got from you? And what is it that happens when they find success? What do they do? How do they feel? What are they doing? So going back again to our friend Rhonda, right? The call to adventure of her ideal client, right? The people on the journey, these are top level athletes. They have an injury. Their biggest fear is that they might not ever be able to play again or play at the same level. So we want to help assure them that we can help them and overcome that fear. So maybe they get referred to us by the doctor, and you guide them because you tell them that story and you educate them on your experience and what you can do and how you help them. So their challenges, right? They might be losing motivation. They're frustrated with their recovery process. And as their guide, their mentor, you're helping them overcome it, right? You have the services and solutions developed exactly to target and address these concerns and these challenges. And the ultimate solution, right? You have some kind of a program. Maybe it's a weekly program they come to. Maybe it's a monthly program. And it provides them with a plan and motivation and support, right? We have a plan that gives people confidence that we can help them. We have motivation and support built in that keeps them engaged, that keeps them moving forward. And what happens when they find success? Well, not only do they get back to playing, they might be playing better than before because maybe their nutrition was pretty crappy at the same time, and now they have better nutrition habits in addition to their physical health. They tell their teammates and their doctor about how awesome you were. Isn't that a great story, right? We want every person, every client that we have, that we work with to have this same level of experience, that we want them to come out better than they were when they came into us. So remember this, your why is what becomes somebody else's what they need, what they want from you, what they can get from you. So how do we communicate our story? Number one, we want to tell it to the world, right? Speak to your client from their point of view. Identify their problems and their fears. Let them know what's the outcome, right? So we hear all the time from clients, right? Or maybe you've heard some clients sometimes, oh, well, I really wish I looked like you, or I looked like this person, or I could wear this, or I'm going to this event. What's their outcomes, and tell them how you can help them, give them solutions to their story. Most importantly, write a bio on your website that tells the story. Yes, it's great that you went to X school and did X internship and worked at X hospital, but you know what? I could put anyone's name on that. Be personal, write the bio, do videos. People love videos. People love to hear your story and they want to see you, get to know you, right? Remember, that's why I asked about what's your favorite movies, right? We've seen them. We can see ourselves and picture ourselves in them. Sharing it on social media is great, right? We want to get a little personal. Again, use your best judgment in how you want to share certain personal things, but we want to let people know our story. What is our background? How did we get to where we are today? Why do we do what we do? Tell people when you're networking. I tell people all the time, people are like, I hate networking. I don't like doing it. I'm like, well, how are you connecting with people? Are you just walking in saying, I'm a dietitian, come work with me? Or are you telling them a story? Why are you a dietitian? What is it that you do that can help other people. And then most importantly, we want testimonials, right? You want the ideal client sharing their story with your audience, because now, again, they're doing the work for you. They're telling other people just like them, because ideal clients attract ideal client references, that you're the person to work with. You didn't have to lift a finger. And as I alluded to before, right, the story's over evolving, right? The wheel's always spinning. And remember that you're always going to start and stop in a different place and a new place. So what happens when the story changes? Well, it's time to rewrite it. We want to go back and retrace our steps. What are some new pivotal moments that we've encountered in our life? And I try to tell people this, and even I went back the other night as I was working on this, and I went back and read my About Me, and I was like, wow, it is really time to update this, right? So we think about as things change, are you still speaking to the same people? Maybe your focus has to be reset. You might have a new ideal clientele, or we might even have to take another step, and you might have a new niche, or maybe something's evolved or branched out from something you already have. Tell people your new story and revise the brand. Change is good. I know it's super scary, and we don't want to alienate the people that we already have and that we've worked with, but you have to remember this. Even though I said your brand is not about you, you still got to stay true to you, because this is your business at the end of the day. So as I said, your brand is not about you. It's about them. The facts tell, but the stories sell. Pivotal moments are shaping your brand. Remember that it's your why that becomes somebody else's what. And at the end of the day, you got to stay true to you. So how do we go about creating our brand and putting a plan in place? Well, starting point I say for any brand is you got to be able to answer these 3 questions. What do you do? Who do you help? And how do you do it differently or better? If you're offering the exact same cookie cutter program as the dietitian down the street, people aren't going to seek you out. They just want to go to the person who's closer to you. So what do you do differently, or what do you do better? And most importantly, not only do you have to have an answer, but these need to be short, clear, concise answers for all 3 of these to start the branding process. If someone asks you what you do and you give them a laundry list of 10 different things that you do, go back and look at your story. Do you really want to be doing those 10 things? And remember this, and I tell people this, when I worked in advertising, branding is such a process. We would work for over a year with some of our clients just trying to come up with the brand before a product was even launched. It takes time. I don't want it to take you guys a year, though. The cool thing is you guys are all people, right? When I was in advertising, we were working with inanimate objects. You kind of were making up the story for them as you went along and then asking people for feedback. You're a person. You already know the story, so that helps to cut a heck of a lot of time out of it. But remember this, you don't have to do it alone. I know we feel that we can do it alone. It's my brand. I can do this. But you know what? Business is hard. Don't do it by yourself. First and foremost, talk to colleagues and talk to your potential clients, right? You're building your business essentially for them, right? It's not about you. You're doing this for them. So talk to them and find out what they want, what they're looking for, what do they connect to. Mastermind groups are amazing. And when you really, really need help, hire professionals. I know a lot of times we are very hesitant to spend money and invest in things, but when you really need the help and you know it's going to move you forward, you will waste so much less time in the end from not having to backtrack and redo things. So when you need the help, don't be afraid to ask for it. And doing research within your niche, like I said, you want to talk to potential clients, but you will need to keep this process going. So you want to do the research not just before the development process, but right when you launch, after you launched, and even as you're still an established brand. Like I said, are you still talking to the same people that you were when you started your business? Are you still connecting to the same people, or has a different audience started to resonate instead? Couple of really great resources I always like to recommend. The first is SCORE. This is a nonprofit service. This is primarily composed of a lot of retired business folks. These are people who may have been at the C-suite level, and now they go back and volunteer their time to help young small businesses, startups, in helping them develop their businesses. So they will help you go over business plans. They will help you with marketing. Again, a lot of times these services are free. They also offer really great educational services as well. Top book I would recommend, Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand. He uses a framework that is very loosely based on the hero's journey. So it's a nice way to hear kind of the same framework presented in a different manner. And he gives a lot of really good resources on his website as well. And then when you really do need to call in the big guns, there are marketing and branding agencies out there. Do you need to call the agency I worked at in New York? No, there are plenty of smaller local companies that were designed to help smaller local businesses. You want to create a solid strategy and avoid, the one-off graphic designer and this person here and this person here. When one person works on your business or one company works on your business, it helps to move things along much more efficiently. And finally, for those of you who might be ready to raise the bar on your nutrition business, there's me that you can always work with. So I offer a couple ways that I work with dietitians to help them with building their brands. My first is what I call my BAR method course, and this stands for branding, advertising, and relationship building. And I have developed a couple of different options to help meet people's needs along the way. The first is a 12-week intensive. So this is 12 weeks. Every week we meet either as a small group or I meet with you one-on-one. You have lessons every week. There's a different module. There's assignments that go along with it. And it just helps to really not learn, but reinforce. And then we talk about it in our sessions. I only offer the 12-week intensive 3 times a year. Next one actually happens to be starting on Monday, so I'll give you some information if you're interested in learning about that. For those of you who might feel that you can't commit to 12 weeks at this time, there is a self-study option, and with that, you get the exact same modules and assignments. You just don't have the weekly accountability meetups that you do, but you can always add that on. And then coming soon, I am going to be having a foundational 3-part series. So this is my first 3 modules in the BAR method, and this looks at a deep dive into building your brand, identifying your ideal client, and identifying your services. So keep a lookout for that. I also do offer individual coaching and mentoring for dietitians. And another thing I have is a community. It's called the RD Business Blitz Tribe. We have a Facebook community, a free newsletter. I do a bi-weekly Facebook Live show where I interview different, whether it's dietitians or other professionals who are complementary to dietitians. I interviewed a lawyer a few weeks ago. I have some SEO folks coming up. And it's just a nice way to help give you guys different skills and access to different people and needs for your business. So I do have a little bonus. If you guys go to bit.ly.com, Healthy Storytelling Bonus, you can get a couple of worksheets that will go back and help you apply the hero's journey, rewriting the story, and getting started with your niche or brand. And then the week of October 1st, I'm actually going to be offering live storytelling mini mastermind sessions via Zoom, where you can come to me with your homework and I want to hear your stories and I want to hear how that's going to help you build your brand. And I will also send out some discounts on the BAR method course as well. So go forth, all of you, and tell your story, because we want to raise the bar on your nutrition business together. So thank you guys so much for listening to me tell a little bit about the story to create your story. And I hope to connect with you guys, not here in just the Q&A, but out in the social world as well. So I will actually stop sharing and turn this back over to Chelsea for Q&A.
Hi, everyone. So that was great, Mandy. Thank you so much. Learned so much from all of that. I'm not seeing that many questions come in. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Mandy is here to help you build your brand and answer any questions that you may have. So we would love it if anybody has any questions. We're here about branding, marketing, relationship building, maybe networking. I know Mandy is an expert networker.
Robin Flipsy calls me the networking whore. She jokes with me, but I love networking, and I know it scares a lot of people. So
yeah, so it could definitely be, I think, a little overwhelming. So with Fenty coming up, since I'm waiting for some questions to come in, I'll ask you a question. With Fenty coming up, which is one of the biggest dietetic conferences,
never heard of it.
What do you think is the number one networking tip that somebody can do preparing going into the conference?
These guys, business cards. It's funny. I had written a piece actually on Today's Dietitian on their blog last year, and I actually just sent it out to my business list tribe today, and it's a week by week prep for Fenty. So number one was get some business cards and go back at this point, and I would say refreshing some things, because like I said, a lot of times we put the things out and then we don't go back and look at them. And remember, part of our goal at Fenty is networking, and then people are going to go onto our websites and look us up. So we want to make sure that we have the most current information on display. So that would be probably my biggest tip, is just make sure that all of your information is current. Make sure your business cards are current. If you have changed jobs, areas of practice, Instagram handles, because I know people are always changing those. Make sure that's all up to date and refreshed as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. And then I see that you have your picture on yours. Is that something that you suggest that dietitians have on their card, or health coaches, nutritionists as a whole?
I think it does help, because you meet so many people at so many events. And again, you can go onto their website, but sometimes I like just the little reminder. I also do recommend it for people too who may be at the stage where they don't necessarily have a full brand established yet. And rather than using a generic business card template, because that is such a pet peeve of mine, is put even if you don't have a fancy logo, put your face on it. That's going to help people remember you. The other thing too, I always joke all the time, like people are like, is this a coaster or a business card? It is probably like the thickest business card.
I thought that was a stack.
Nope, this is one card. It is probably about 1/4 of an inch thick. And I joke all the time, folks, I'm like, you're not going to lose it. It's not going to get buried in your purse. It's not going to get crumpled up. So I'm all about the presentation as well. But yeah, having your picture on, I think, definitely helps. I know sometimes we feel weird and maybe we feel a little self-conscious. It's on display, but you want people to remember you. That's the point of networking.
Yeah, those are great points. So thank you for that. So we got a couple of questions. Somebody wrote in, if I narrow my niche, that reduces the number of clients I have available. What do you say about that? And this is a very common question that we receive.
Yes. So we tend to fear, oh my God, I'm not going to have it. So number one, and this goes into the research part of it. So when we look at our niche, the first thing I always say is, well, what's the existing population that is out there? And if you have a very specific niche, you want to make sure that number one, you're not two. So think about that pyramid I showed. So if you get to the very, very bottom tip of that pyramid and you find that there's like 5 people in the whole world that have that thing, maybe that's not going to be that profitable. So maybe you go to the next point of the pyramid. Maybe you open up a little bit too. But again, this is another thing I tell folks too, is that as dietitians, like, we have this mindset that we have to be helping everybody. Everybody has a different niche. So let the people who are experts in different areas focus on that. Because what starts to happen is when we are trying to work with everybody out there, again, we're not going to attract the people that we want. You're going to have people that are going to get frustrated with you, or they don't feel that you're getting them or working with them. And that tends to lead to some more negative outcomes. So we want to really focus on the people that we know we can help. And like I said, when we focus on the people that we know we can help, those people know other people like them. So they become your sales force then. So don't feel that you're narrowing yourself just because you want to work in like one specific area. Again, like I said, your brand, your bigger brand, that top of the pyramid, is going to help to attract attention. It's up to those people to figure out if you're going to be the right person for them.
Great question. So if somebody were to come, just as a follow-up question that I think a lot of people often ask about this is, if somebody else comes to you looking for your services and it's not necessarily your niche client, can you still work with them if you think you can handle their case?
I think this is a personal thing. If you think you can handle it and it's something you're okay with, then if it's of interest to you and it's not going to detract or derail you from your work and you want to take the odd one-off case, sure. It's totally fine. But again, don't get distracted and then start taking every possible case that comes your way if it's going to take you away from working with the ideal client.
Yeah, great advice. Okay, so Brittany asked, how do you create a good post for Instagram? How do you consistently create engaging stories? This is a personal favorite topic of mine. So
I feel like Chelsea should really be answering this question instead. I mean, again, with Instagram, it's a mix of, the imagery itself and the caption. So yes, I could post a picture of me drinking my favorite coffee. Hey, I love coffee, and go about my day. Or maybe I post a picture of my coffee, but the caption gets into something a little deeper, like, hey, this morning I was having my cup of coffee and I was thinking back to this time when this happened. So now you're getting a little bit more personal. Yes, you posted a picture of your coffee, but you're getting into something a little bit more deeper in the captioning. How do you consistently create engaging stories? Again, if these are the people that you're talking to are the ones who are going to resonate with your story, they're going to be engaged with you. You could be sitting on the couch watching TV and you're posting a story of doing that, and they're going to be like, hey, that's cool. I'm sitting on the couch too watching TV. Dietitians, they're just like me.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway there, just to piggyback off of what Mandy's saying, is to be yourself. And I think being your most authentic self on social media is typically the most rewarding for you, and it will attract the clientele that you're looking for. So I would just say, be authentic to yourself, and it's okay to get personal on Instagram. I think that that's the biggest hurdle that I personally see people avoid.
I 100% agree. And I was definitely the same way when I started my business Instagram account, because I wanted to keep that separation of church and state, because again, we have this perception personal equals unprofessional, and that's not the case. So I remember when I first started my business account, I wouldn't post a yoga picture on it. I didn't want people to see me doing yoga. I didn't want them to judge me based on that. That's my thing. So for me to not post something that is so special to me and something I love to do, that felt very inauthentic to me. So when I was starting to post more yoga pictures, post more personal pictures, I felt that I was being able to talk and attract to more people I wanted to be working with.
Yeah, great point. Okay, so Katie asks us, part of my story is struggling through an eating disorder and coming out the other side with intuitive eating. I'm interested in this as my niche area, but I'm having a hard time establishing what different things I can offer versus other intuitive eating RDs. And I think it's very applicable to any specialty.
Absolutely, right? Because we all offer the same things at the end of the day. So a couple of different things. Number one, I always say, look back at what is it back in your story that worked for you, and why did it work for you, and how did that help you? I think it's Oscar Wilde who has one of my favorite quotes, which is talent borrows and geniuses steal. So you can always take what somebody else has as a framework and add your spin to it, add your personality to it. You could change the wording, you could change the pictures. There's other ways that you can find ways to change up what's out there or existing. The other thing too, think about what it is that resonates with you, and don't be afraid to ask your ideal clientele what they're looking for. I always like to joke and I say, be a little creepy. So what is it that other people are talking about? What is it that they need? I think with something like you mentioned intuitive eating here, intuitive eating, I think, is something that a lot of people are talking about, but I don't think a lot of people understand it. So how can you put in your own words what is intuitive eating and how you can work with people with it.
Yeah. Great point. I think that's so important for any specialty, though, is also just like explaining in your own words what you do, because then, you know, only you can take ownership of that. So I think that that's a really great starting point. I've never thought about it that way before. Any other questions from anyone? I don't see that we're having any other questions. Everything was so great and clear. So if anybody has any questions about Mandy's programs or anything like that, I'm happy. I'm going to put my email down here so you can send me an email about anything, any questions. We will be sending out the recording with more information for you tomorrow. And if anybody has any questions, thank you so much, Mandy. This was wonderful. Guys. Thank you for being a part of this. And we look forward to seeing you soon. And we'll see you guys at Fancy.
Thanks for having me. And yes, I look forward to seeing you all at Fancy, and come say hello and tell me your story.
Bye.